All right, we're now going to move to my sermon. So I have a reason to call these services the Kitchen Shabbat service. And you may think it's because I'm literally leading this service in my kitchen, which you can see behind me. However, I have a better reason to be here other than the great lighting. I'm here because the kitchen is the Jewish altar of our home. Almost all of our meaningful rituals, our spirituality, our devotion to God can be done right in our kitchen. We are a people who heal and take solace with food. After all, there is the famous Jewish saying, they tried to kill us, they did not succeed, let's eat. All of our food is inspired, prepared, and plated in a sanctuary made holy by our work in this room. And even though we lived in these troubled times, where we cannot visit our usual Shabbat sanctuary in the synagogue, I encourage all of you to think of your kitchen as the same vessel for worship. The word we use for prayer sometimes is avodah, and avodah literally means work. The Talmud teaches us that the world is held up by three pillars: Torah, avodah, and gimlut chasadim, which means loving kindness. If we consider avodah, work, as the prayer and / work we do in the kitchen, then we can help hold the world up by cooking and baking in our kitchen. And that means that our Jewish cookbooks are our prayer books. So let me show you what we use in our house real quick. We really enjoy this one, 1,000 Jewish recipes. Jewish Iraqi cuisine. Nosh on this, gluten-free Jewish American kitchen. And finally, the Jewish cooking in America. I'm sure that you have your own favorite Jewish cookbooks, and actually I really encourage you to write their name down in the chat of this live feed. Jewish cookbooks are the guide that we need to find spirituality in our kitchen. And even the Talmud agrees and says, the table upon which we eat is like the altar of the new temple. The avodah, or work we do to get that food on our table, are prayers. And if cookbooks are our kitchen's prayer books, then I want to spend a few minutes reading some of their spiritual passages. Jewish cookbooks share more than just recipes. They often tell stories of the meaningful experiences worshipers felt in the kitchen. So I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see some of these quotes. The first piece comes from Elizabeth Eric, who wrote Miriam's Kitchen, a memoir. The cadence is evolving for me now as I seek to bring tradition home. With ambivalence and some sense of irony, I light a candle, recite a prayer, grate a potato, and move toward making my kitchen kosher. Thus, I forge links from my grandparents and my husband's grandparents to my children, who wear their ancestors' Hebrew names. I consider the law, the restrictions, the presumptions of holiness, the doubt. I inventory layers of translucent recollection evoking food, love, home, epigrapha, anger, ritual, laughter, conflict, and regret. The result is a collage, but also a way of life. That collage is my religion, and it is what I am passing on. Next quote comes from Cherny Berg from Molly and Me. In the morning, I would walk right into our kitchen full of confusion. The whole room was a mixture of dough drying for noodles, pots boiling, and the wooden kitchen table sprinkled all over with flour. It was like a rehearsal in a theater. The stage was being set, the props arranged, and the acts run through for this Friday night supper that was 10 or 11 hours away and would be the finished performance. The only thing in the whole kitchen that wasn't a mess was Babashu, which is my grandmother. Next one is Elaine Parnas from Jewish Cooking in America. An onion must be cut across the top that sticks out of the earth, not the bottom that rests in the soil. This way, you are not shortening your or anyone else's life. I lost my mother in October 1978, and I would never cut any growing vegetable or fruit any other way. I guess Jewish mothers from Europe got through to their children, even in America. And my final one is by Roberta Sherry from Jewish Cooking in America. I'll never forget the day my grandmother told me about the pupek. This was the kidney of the chicken entrails. That too I relished and always waited for it to be cooked so I could gobble it down. Whenever I cook, I like to feel I am part of my grandmother's legacy. The most Jewish part of her was her love, and her love went into her cooking as it did into my heart. The most Jewish part of her was love, and her love went into her cooking. These passages show us the meaningful and beautiful rituals that occur in our Jewish kitchens. They're not just an altar of worship at our home, but a place to pass what we learned from our grandparents to our children. Some of our greatest Jewish traditions happen in small kitchens. It's more important than ever that we believe in the rituals that we perform in our kitchen, from washing our hands to cleaning up afterwards. These rituals are just as Jewish, spiritual, and prayerful as going to shul. Now, I'd be remiss not to mention our Torah portion this week, Stav. And believe it or not, it's this Torah portion that inspired me to talk about Jewish kitchens. In this portion, we learn about the rituals that the Israelites and the priests must perform in order to appropriately sacrifice to Adonai. These rituals are really careful to make sure that everything is holy and sacred. For example, after priests go through the ordination process in the Mishkan, they have to quarantine themselves in the Mishkan for 7 days. This is because things are sacred and holy, and the things that are sacred and holy are also dangerous. These rituals that we learn in Leviticus are there to make sure we can sacrifice to Adonai correctly and safely. A kitchen is the best metaphor and literal experience of safely performing rituals. If we want to offer delicious food and not make anyone sick, then we too must perform a series of rituals to ensure a delicious and safe end product. Anyways, I know that we were all cooped up here in our homes and unable to congregate and worship in the usual ways. And I encourage you to think of this as a bit of an opportunity. We have been given so much time to worship at the sanctuary of our kitchen. And let's use this opportunity to put our love into our cooking, to transfer our memories of our parents and grandparents into our food. Let's share these memories with our children and teach them to perform our greatest tradition in our kitchen. Anyways, for as long as I can, I will continue to lead these services right here in the most sacred part of my home, the kitchen, and continue to call them the kitchen services. And thank you, and we're now going to continue with the Misha Berach.